Ripping millions of workers from the economy was meant to fix America's problems, but instead, it created new ones. Food prices are climbing, homes aren't being built, and businesses are struggling. Even some Republicans are worried. Did Trump's mass deportation plan backfire, making life harder for Americans? Let's find out. The mass deportation plan. Donald Trump made mass deportation a key promise in his campaign, claiming it would create jobs for American workers, lower costs, and strengthen national security. His administration took aggressive steps, planning mass arrests, expanding detention centers, and even considering sending undocumented immigrants to Guantanamo Bay. The goal was to remove millions of workers quickly, but this approach ignored a crucial reality. Many industries in the U.S. depend heavily on immigrant labor, particularly in farming construction and essential services. These are tough jobs with long hours and low pay, positions that many American citizens do not want. By aggressively targeting undocumented workers, Trump's policies triggered a chain reaction. Businesses struggled to find employees, leading to labor shortages. With fewer workers, food production slowed, construction projects stalled, and costs started rising. Instead of improving the economy, these policies disrupted industries, increased prices, and made life more difficult for millions of American families. The crisis in agriculture. One of the hardest-hit industries is agriculture. The American food supply is heavily dependent on migrant workers, particularly in states like California and Florida, where farms produce the majority of the country's fruits, vegetables, and dairy products. Without these workers, crops are being left to rot in the fields. Farmers in California's Central Valley, one of the most productive agricultural regions in the world, are already feeling the effects. Harvest seasons are being missed because there aren't enough laborers to pick crops. The same crisis is happening in Florida, where citrus and vegetable farmers are struggling to find workers. This shortage doesn't just hurt farmers, it affects every American who buys groceries. With fewer workers harvesting food, supply decreases while demand remains the same, leading to higher prices at grocery stores. Trump claimed his policies would lower the cost of living, but the reality is the opposite. Food prices are climbing, and Americans are feeling the strain on their wallets. The construction industry, a labor shortage, crisis. Another major sector suffering from mass deportation efforts is construction. Cities across the U.S. are facing a housing shortage, with not enough affordable homes being built to meet demand. The construction industry has long relied on immigrant workers, many of whom have specialized skills and years of experience. Los Angeles, for example, is in desperate need of new housing to address its growing homeless crisis. However, developers are struggling to find enough workers to complete projects on time. Many construction sites are either slowing down or shutting down entirely because of labor shortages caused by mass deportation policies. What happens when fewer homes are built? Prices skyrocket, making it even harder for Americans to afford housing. Rent increases, mortgages become more expensive, and those looking to buy their first home are pushed further out of the market. Instead of creating more opportunities for American workers, these policies are making housing less affordable for everyone. America's essential workers, the people called heroes. During the COVID-19 pandemic, many immigrant workers were labeled as essential. They worked on the front lines in hospitals, grocery stores, food processing plants, and delivery services, risking their health to keep the country running. Now, these same workers are being targeted for deportation. Many of the jobs they fill are not ones that Americans are lining up to take. From meatpacking plants in the Midwest to home healthcare services for the elderly, these workers play a crucial role in the economy. Yet instead of being recognized for their contributions, they are being forced into hiding, leaving jobs unfilled and businesses struggling. This isn't just a problem for immigrants, it's a problem for every American who depends on them for food, care, and essential services. What happens when there aren't enough workers to process meat, stock shelves, or care for elderly patients? Services slow down, costs go up, and the entire economy feels the impact. Florida's in fighting. Even Republicans see the problem. Even some Republican leaders in Florida are realizing that Trump's immigration policies are hurting their state's economy. Florida's agricultural industry is one of the biggest in the country, and it depends on immigrant labor to keep running. Without these workers, farms can't function, and businesses suffer. This has led to major political infighting. with some Florida lawmakers pushing back against Governor Ron DeSantis' hardline immigration policies. They fear that driving away immigrant workers will collapse the state's economy, causing food prices to soar and local businesses to fail. What does it say when members of Trump's own party are beginning to question the impact of his deportation policies? The reality is that even conservative states are realizing that America cannot function without the workers Trump is trying to remove. Trump's trade wars making things worse. As if labor shortages weren't already causing problems, Trump's threats of trade wars with major trading partners like Mexico, Canada, and Colombia are making things even worse. One of his latest ideas is to impose tariffs on imported coffee, which could have a direct impact on millions of Americans who rely on their daily cup. The U.S. imports a huge amount of food, including coffee, fresh produce, and other essential goods from these countries. If tariffs are added, it means businesses will have to pay more to bring these products into the country. And when businesses pay more, they pass those extra costs to consumers, making everyday items more expensive. This isn't just about coffee. Tariffs on other imported goods will drive up grocery prices, making it harder for families to afford basic necessities. When combined with labor shortages in farming and construction, these trade policies are creating the perfect storm for economic trouble. Instead of fixing the economy, these actions are making inflation worse, adding even more pressure on Americans already struggling with high prices and economic uncertainty. Eggy prices and bird flu, another crisis ignored. The rising cost of food is not just due to labor shortages and trade wars. Another major factor is the avian bird flu. This deadly virus has forced farmers across the country to kill thousands of chickens to prevent its spread. As a result, the egg supply has dropped significantly, causing prices to skyrocket. Eggs are a staple in many households, and when their cost rises, it affects everything from grocery budgets to food production in restaurants and bakeries. Instead of focusing on solutions to stabilize food prices and support farmers, Trump has suggested putting RFK Jr. in charge of public health. However, RFK Jr. is a highly controversial figure with no experience in handling public health emergencies, raising concerns about whether he is the right person for such a critical role. When the impact of the bird flu is combined with mass deportations, labor shortages, and trade wars, the economic strain on American families becomes even worse. Instead of solving inflation and food shortages, these policies are creating new problems, making everyday life more expensive and difficult for millions of people. If this video opened your eyes, don't forget to like and share it so others can see the real impact of mass deportation. What are your thoughts on these policies? Drop a comment below. Let's discuss. Also, hit subscribe for more deep dives into America's most pressing issues. Stay informed, stay engaged.